In the beginning of this story, we are shown a dark forest where someone is running, either out of fear or to escape from someone. The scene cuts and we see a red bus passing through the middle of the same forest on a road. Shortly ahead, the bus encounters a blocked path due to a fallen tree. To continue, the bus takes an alternate route. But does this detour come with danger? As they proceed, strange things begin to unfold and soon, all seems to be descending into chaos. Suddenly, a haunting silence engulfs the surroundings. The children sitting in the bus look anxiously toward the road, frightened, because the driver has abruptly stopped the vehicle. When he steps out to check, he finds a dead deer lying on the road. As soon as he moves the deer aside and turns back, he is utterly shocked. In the very next moment, when the driver climbs back into the bus, we see a man standing behind him holding him at gunpoint. The man threatens all the children to remain seated and comply with his instructions. The frightened children obey him. Suddenly, one of the kids recalls reading about this man in the news. He is a serial killer who had escaped from prison just a few days ago. What makes the situation even more horrifying is that this man specifically targets teenagers. It is revealed that he is a psychopath. Following the man's orders, the children throw their phones out of the bus windows. Meanwhile, the driver continues driving the bus, and as they move further, he misses another signboard that reads they are heading toward a military zone. Could this lead to something even more dangerous? Years ago, research was conducted here, but now no one lives in this place. There was a tunnel illuminated with numerous lights, and it was inside this tunnel that their bus suddenly came to a stop. They discovered that the bus engine had broken down. The psychopathic killer, suspecting the drivers had planned this, took a young girl at gunpoint. He ordered the driver, "Get down and fix the bus in front of me. If anyone tries anything smart, I'll kill this girl." Suddenly, the lights in the tunnel went out. Everyone was filled with panic. In the pitch-black tunnel, they began to hear eerie and terrifying sounds. The killer gestured to the driver, signaling him to investigate the source of the sound. The driver, armed with only a flashlight, cautiously moved forward. As he ventured deeper into the darkness, he spotted a shadow. Moving closer, he realized it was a horrifying-looking monster. The driver screamed in terror and the monster grabbed him by the chest and killed him. Meanwhile, inside the bus, everyone was watching this unfold. The killer hurriedly brought the girl back into the bus. The passengers were screaming in fear. The bus cleaner tried to calm everyone down, telling them to stay quiet so the monster wouldn't see or hear them, and he attempted to start the bus. But the bus keys were still with the driver who had been killed by the monster. The killer ordered one of the children to retrieve the keys from the driver. Terrified, a girl reluctantly went to fetch the keys. As she approached the driver's body, she was horrified to see him lifeless. Overcome with disbelief, tears started streaming down her face. But there was no time to cry. Summoning her courage, she took the keys from the driver's hand and rushed back to the bus. Back in the bus, she was still shaking with fear. When the others asked her about the driver, she simply shook her head, unable to speak, indicating that he was no longer alive. Hearing this, the other children became distraught. The killer then ordered a boy named Nam to start the bus, but the bus was still broken. Furious, the killer threatened him, demanding, "Start the bus now or else. What if I kill everyone?" This boy was as passionate as the rest, perhaps even more. Without fear, he would argue back with the leader. The next day, when an opportunity arose, one of the remaining boys pushed him from behind. He fell to the ground. Surajji quickly snatched the gun from his hand and pointed it back at him. Laughing, he said, "You think you can kill me? Killing takes a lot of courage, which you clearly don't have." Before the boy could react, a voice suddenly echoed from the roof of the bus, distracting everyone. Taking advantage of this, the boy grabbed the gun back. But now the voices from the roof were growing louder, causing all the kids to look up in fear. Enraged, the leader of the group stepped out of the bus and shouted, "Whoever you are, come out of the darkness and face me." While he kept yelling, his voice abruptly stopped. A strange mix of fear and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Suddenly, someone attacked him. The attacker decapitated him in a swift move, leaving his head separate from his body. The kids inside the bus were shocked beyond belief, paralyzed in silence. That's exactly what the monster wanted. In one hand, it held the man's head and its grotesque form seemed to be grinning. The monster had terrifying tentacles, and its horrifying appearance was enough to strike fear into anyone. The kids didn't know what to do. For now, they decided to stay inside the bus, hoping to survive. But soon, strange knocking sounds started coming from outside. As the sound grew louder, they saw the monster's large, grotesque hands appear over the top of the bus. The monster entered the bus, forcing the kids to escape through the other door. But that door wouldn't open. They had a flashlight with them, and by accident its beam hit the monster. That's when they noticed the monster recoiling from the light. Realizing its weakness, they used the flashlight to ward it off. This gave them enough time to open the door and escape from the bus. Keeping the flashlight aimed at the monster, they ran as fast as they could until they reached a bunker. Inside the bunker, they found a room with a map of the entire area. It turned out to be a military base. If it was a military base, then there had to be power sources and a control panel somewhere. If they wanted to survive, they needed to find that control panel, turn on the lights, and keep the monster at bay. They came up with a plan to locate the control panel and split up. Meanwhile, 3 of them were passing time in the bunker, albeit nervously. One of the girls said she needed to use the washroom but was too scared to go alone. So Reggie went with her. As they walked, Reggie tried to make small talk, but the girl didn't respond much. After a while, he noticed she wasn't answering him at all. Suspicious, he turned around and realized she wasn't there anymore. Panic set in as he started calling out for her, running around frantically. When the others heard about it, they all began searching for her. Eventually, they found her in a corner, but a monstrous creature was hovering over her, ready to bite into her neck. She seemed to be in a state of unconsciousness. One of them distracted the monster with fire while another managed to pull her away. They ran as fast as they could, thinking Reggie was right behind them, but he wasn't. The monster had knocked the weapon out of Reggie's hand and it fell into the water. Without his weapon, Reggie was defenseless. Tentacles from the monster reached out to grab him and blood spilled everywhere. The others, looking back, saw this horrifying sight but were helpless to do anything. Just as the monster was about to devour him, the lights came on. The sudden brightness scared the monster away and it disappeared. The group realized that their friends who had gone to find the generator had succeeded in turning it on. While exploring further, they came across a room with a dead body and numerous pictures and notes. The notes were all about the monster, suggesting someone had been researching it for a long time but had failed to kill it. Although the notes were intriguing, the group's priority was to escape the area as soon as possible. As they prepared to leave, they noticed a strange shadow in the distance. Holding their breath, they feared it might be another monster. But as it approached, they realized it was their 3 remaining friends. Relieved, they ran towards them. Their relief was short-lived, though, as they noticed the girl they had rescued had a deep wound on her neck, possibly from the monster's bite. It was bleeding profusely. One of them voiced their concern that she might become infected and turn into a monster herself. While some suggested leaving her behind, they ultimately decided to take her along. What would happen to her? Would she turn into a monster? And would they be able to escape this nightmare? The story continued, their fate uncertain. To gather information, they revisit the room where they previously found many notes about the monster. From the pile of notes, they pick up